In this lecture, we will cover the sudo utility. The sudo stands for superuser do utility. Linux gives normal users the ability to run privileged commands. There is a utility called sudo that can be used for this purpose. For example, a regular user can run user add command with sudo if they have been granted access. For example, sudo space user add or sudo space add user, and then they will type in their own password and they will be able to run that command because they have been given access. Rights provided to sudo users can be used to allow a user or a group to run scripts and applications owned by a different user. Rights can be provided by editing a file at sudoers. File can be edited by using vi sudo command. Granting sudo access to users. To give all privileges to administrative commands on the system to both a user called test and a group called wheel, you can add the below line to sudoers file. To give access to users and groups so they can run privileged commands without getting prompted for a password, below lines can be added to sudoers file. As you can see in the example, there's a column there that says no passwd. That means no password is required when they run sudo. Rights can also be granted to users and groups in a restricted way. For example, if you look at the user and the group wheel, they have been given access to two commands, userdel and add user. So you can restrict on what access they can get and what commands they can run. Let's look at all these examples and how to look at the file and where to make these changes in sudoers file through the terminal. Let's look at the sudo utility through the terminal. Currently, I'm logged in as user 1. Let me run who am I. As you can see, I'm logged in a user called user 1. In order for me to run sudo, let's just check first what kind of commands a user can run with privileges. For example, there's a command called password, passwd, which a root user can run or a user with administrative access can run. So let's try to see if we can reset a password for a particular user. For example, user 2. Let's see if user 1 can reset a password for user 2. If I hit enter, it says only root can specify a username and reset the password. Now, if this user, which is user 1, if this user has sudo privileges, this user will be able to reset that password. Now, to use sudo utility, what you do is you type in sudo and then you run the command. Now it's asking for the password for user 1. Now it's saying user 1 is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. So an email will be sent to an administrator that someone tried to use sudo who was not supposed to use it. Now, this user does not have the sudo privileges. To check that, we can also run this command, sudo -l, hit enter. Let's type in the password for user again. Sorry, user 1 may not run sudo on test. It's because this user does not even have privileges to run the sudo command to check what rights this user has. So let me clear the screen. Now, let me log in as a user. Let me exit out. Let me switch user to a user who does have privileges. So let me switch to a user called test. Let me do a who am I. As you can see, I'm currently logged in as a user called test. Let's see if this user can run the command sudo and reset password for this particular user, user 2. Hit enter. Now provide the password for the user test. Now it's letting user test change the password for user 2. Usually only root can change the password, but this user has been given privileges or sudo access to be able to change the password. So let me change the password. So now the password is changed. This user was able to do this because this user has the privileges provided through sudo to be able to change the password and to be able to run sudo. Now let's check the rights for this particular user. We can do sudo -l, hit enter. If you see right here, it says user test may run the following commands on test all. So all the commands this user can run because this user have enough privileges to be able to run those commands. Let me clear the screen. Now one thing to remember is once a particular user runs a sudo command, next time it does not ask for a password because it's valid for 5 minutes depending on the distro. Some distros have 15-minute time limit, some distros have 5-minute. Usually it's 5 minutes. For example, if I try to run the same command again, for example, sudo passwd user2. So I'm resetting the password for user2, hit enter. And this time it's just letting us change the password. It didn't even ask us to provide the password for the test user because it's valid for about 5 minutes. After that, when you type in sudo, it will ask the test user to provide its own password before it can proceed to change the password for another user or run any commands that a privileged user can run. So that's how it works. Now let me cat the sudoers file as root. There are a couple of lines in sudoers file. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger so you can have a better idea. So for example, there's a line here that says all. For example, root is able to do and run all the commands without needing any other permissions is because root has all access to be able to run any commands anywhere. As you can see, there's another user called test. Test is also able to run all the commands because test has been added to sudoers file and has been given these particular rights. So if we wanted to have user 1 also be able to run those commands, we would need to add that user here as well. Clear the screen. Now in order to edit this file, you cannot just do vi and edit that file. You need to use vi sudo, enter. Now this file is open and you can edit that file. As long as whoever is editing this file has root privileges or have privileged access, will be able to edit this file. So right here, this is the line where we can add the user. For example, I will just copy and paste this line, y to copy and p to paste. And all I need to do here is just add that user. The user is called user1. Now if I save this file, which I can do by hitting escape, right quit, bang, hit enter. Let's cat this file again. Now as you can see, user1 has been added to this file and has been given access all, same as root, to be able to run any commands. So let's go back and check to see if that actually happened. Let me switch to user1. Now let's see if user1, after making that entry in sudoers file, is able to run sudo. So we'll run the same command again, sudo passwd, to change the password for user2. If I hit enter, he will be asked to type in the password. That's the user1's password. Now it's letting him change the password for user2. So let me proceed with changing the password. And the password changed successfully. Any user who's been given access or been added to that file with all privileges will be able to run any commands. So if I run vi sudo, it's saying permission denied. It's because this user has been given privileges, but you have to still use sudo before you type in vi sudo. Now the file is open and this user can go in and edit the file. So as you can see, this user has been given access, and access right here, it will allow this user to run same commands as root, because if you see root has the same access, test user has also been given the same privileges, and user 1 has been given the same privileges. There is also another field which you can use. So let's go down to the field. For example, right here, there's a user called Linux. This user has been giving all privileges, and he does not even need to type in the password to run any commands that require sudo privileges. So let's try that to see if actually the Linux user can use sudo without typing in a password. And let me switch user to user Linux. Now I'm logged in as the user Linux. Let's check with who am I. Currently logged in as user Linux. Let's do sudo -l to check rights for Linux user. As you can see, it has all access to run all commands, just as a root user would be able to. And it also says no passwd. That means no password is required for this user to be able to run any commands with sudo. So let's check that. Let's run sudo, same command, passwd, to reset a password for user 2. Hit enter. Now it did not ask this user to type in a password after typing in the sudo command because of that entry in that file that says no passwd. So no password is required for this user to use sudo. Here he can just type in the new password for user 2 and the user 2 password will be changed. Let me cancel out, clear the screen. Now there is one more thing that you can do with sudoers file related to the sudo utility. Let's cat that file so I can show it to you. So let's look at this file again. If you look over here, it says allows people in group wheel to run all commands. So there's a group here called wheel, %wheel, that's the group, has been given access to run everything. Now if we had a user that we needed to give access to run all commands, we can just add that user to this particular group, make him a member of this group. So any member of this group can also use sudo and be able to run all commands. Let's see if we can take away the rights that we have given to user 1. So let's do sudo vi sudo, and let's go back. Now let's go back to the same line and just delete this line. I'm going to save this file. So let's log back in as the user 1. Who am I? User 1. Now let's see what access this user has now. Can this user still run the command? He shouldn't be able to. So if we do sudo, change the password for user 2. Type in the password. User 1 is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. So as you can see, this is how you can give someone sudo access, and you can also take away that sudo access. So let's give user 1 access to all the commands again, but without needing to type in the password. So let's do vi sudo. So if you look at this line here, I've added user 1 and I've given him all access with no passwd to all run all commands. Let me save this file. Clear the screen. Let's switch to user 1. Who am I? User 1. Okay, let's see if this user can run sudo command and be able to run passwd to reset password for user 2 without getting prompted for the password for sudo. It did not get prompted, so no passwd command worked. Now he can change the password for user 2. Now this is a command that only a root user can run, but this way, by giving someone privileges and making modifications to your etc sudoers file, you can give someone sudo access. Let me just cancel that here. I actually don't want to reset the password again. Let's clear the screen. And again, let's do sudo -l As you can see, user 1 has been given all no pass WD all access. That's why this user can run all commands and he will not get prompted to type in a password when he types in a sudo command. When a particular user has the ability to run sudo command, this user also has the ability to run sudo command and be able to switch the user to become a root user. So for example, if I do sudo su, hit enter, now I'm switched to become a root user. Who am I? Root. We have covered the switch user command before in a previous lecture, but you can also do it the same way and change into root by running the su command. When you type in an su command without typing in the username, it assumes that you're trying to switch user to become a root user. As you saw, we became a root user, but the environment hasn't changed. If I do a pwd command, as you can see, it's still showing /home/user1. So it's user1's home directory. Because we did not use a hyphen, it did the switch user and logged in as root, but did not change the environment. So if I hit exit, type in exit and press enter, clear the screen. Who am I? Now I'm back to logged in as user1. Now if I wanted to switch to user root and use user root's environment, what I would need to do is type in sudo switch user command su hyphen, hit enter. Now if I do a pwd, now I'm in user root's home directory, so it has changed my environment as well. So you can actually change to root user once you have the privileges to do so with sudo command. I would advise you to go in and practice those, give someone access, take away the access, and see what you can do with it. I hope you learned something useful in this lecture as well, and I'll see you in the next video.